You have to contemplate yourself surrounded by the conditions you want to produce.
Dr. Wayne Dyer enlightened and inspired generations of fans with his exploration of the spiritual aspects of the human experience.
There's no mistakes in this universe. The only mistakes are the mistakes that we have, that we are separate from the perfection into which we were created.
And through public television, reached millions of viewers who delighted in his broadcast specials.
The ability to take a conflict and to end it with love is one of the most powerful things that you can do. It has been a great lesson for me.
Now we honor his memory with a celebration of 18 years of televised events. Join us and immerse yourself in his motivating, uplifting, and exhilarating guidance when The Forever Wisdom of Dr. Wayne Dyer airs next.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I included this particular observation of Castaneda's in the writing of The Power of Intention because it was this particular quote that really inspired me to write this book and to produce this program and to be here with you today. And here's what the quote says. In the universe, there is an unmeasurable, indescribable force which those who live of the source, in quotes, of the source, and of the source means sorcerer. Now, not sorcerer in the word, when we think of sorcerer, we think of witches and incantations and all kinds of hocus pocus and so on. That's not what the word sorcerer means. It means of the source, those who live of the source. In the universe, there is an unmeasurable and indescribable force which those who live of the source call intention. And that absolutely everything that exists in the entire cosmos is attached to intent by a connecting link. And then he goes on to say, sorcerers are not only concerned with understanding and explaining that connecting link, but they are especially concerned with cleansing it of the numbing effects brought about by all of the concerns of living at ordinary levels of consciousness. Very important and powerful words to consider. Think of it like this, that everything in this universe was intended here, including you, including every mosquito and every palm tree and every avocado and all of the Rocky Mountains and the oceans, that everything that shows up in the material world emanates from a source. And this source can be thought of as that which intends things into the material world. And the question here today isn't whether or not you are going to be connected to it, because you couldn't be listening to this program. You couldn't be processing what I'm saying here if you weren't connected to this field. This field beats your heart. This field of energy grows your fingernails and grows everybody else's fingernails. I used to say it grows your hair, but I've become a little suspicious of that, you know. But it animates all life. Now, this is one observation, that intention is what I'd like you to think of when I think about the power of intention. Intention isn't about whether you're going to connect to it. You're already connected to it. The question is, how rusty, how corroded, how dirty is the link between you and this field of intention? And sorcerers are those who are concerned with cleansing this connecting link so that you become more and more in rapport with, or in harmony with, this field of intention. And the more you're in harmony with this field of intention, the more you are able to do all that this field of intention is able to do. You are able to create miracles. You are able to heal yourself. You are able to attract into your life the abundance that has been missing. You are able to find the right people and have them show up exactly on time, because that's how the universal source from which all things and all people originated, that's how it works. And what we're going to be doing here today in this program is looking at how to get that link back to intention and to not only be connected to it, but to always be ready to keep that connecting link clean, uncorroded. One of the things that really intrigues me is this idea, and I heard it many, many years ago. I'm not even sure of the original source where I heard it, but it goes like this. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Albert Einstein once observed that you have the most fundamental and major decision that you have to make in your life is this. Do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Which is it? Is it a universe that is filled with hostility and anger and people wanting to hate each other and people wanting to kill each other? Is that what you see? Because when you see the world that way, that's exactly what you will create for yourself in your life. This is from great scientific minds. And the interesting thing is that this is not just a clever play on words, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's actually a very scientific thing, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment. I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house. You've got your car keys in your hand. The lights go out. Power failure. You can't see a thing. You stumble around in your living room and you drop your keys. And you look around for a moment and you realize that you're never going to find them in the dark. But you look outside and you notice that the street lights are on. So in your mind, a light bulb goes off. I'm not going to sit around here in the dark and grope around looking for my keys when there's a light on outside. I'm going to go out here under the street light and I'm going to look for my keys. Why are you laughing? This makes a lot of sense. So you're out here and you're groping around and you're looking for your keys and you're looking and looking, and your neighbor comes along and says, "What happened, Wayne?" "Well, I dropped my keys." "Oh, I'll help you look for them." And the two of us are now down here looking for our keys. And looking, finally he says to me, "Excuse me, but where did you drop your keys?" "Well, I dropped them in the house." He said, "You mean to tell me that you dropped your keys in the house and you're looking for them out here in the streetlight? Doesn't make any sense." And I said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense to grope around in the dark when there's light out here." Now you laugh and you think how silly that is, but isn't that exactly what we do when we have a problem, a difficulty, a struggle that is located inside and we're looking for the solution outside, someplace outside of ourselves? The question isn't whether I'm connected to this field of intention. The question is, how ready am I to keep that connecting link absolutely corrosion-free? There are two kinds of attention, according to Neville: subjective attention and objective attention. Subjective attention is different from objective attention. You want to use subjective attention, not objective attention. Neville says there's an enormous difference between attention directed objectively and attention directed subjectively. And the capacity to change your future depends on the latter. Whatever you have placed into your imagination, you always go to your reality and call that which does not exist as if it did. I am, and I have a rule about it. It's don't complain and don't explain. You don't have to explain what you have placed into your imagination. It is totally yours. One of my great teachers in my life in my early doctoral years was Dr. Abraham Maslow. He said, become independent of the good opinion of other people. Trust yourself. Subjective attentions, you, and only you, capital Y-O-U, are the subject that impacts
the burning desire in your imagination. You are living and feeling as if your future dreams are a present fact. Objective attention, you become the objectified result of other people telling you what you can't do, what's impossible, and so on. Subjective attention, mine is mine. I have an image that I use, I call it the super glue method. And when I have an intention about what it is, including doing this program, when I have an intention about making this program a reality, and it involves a lot of money and a lot of expense, a lot of people, a lot of things have to come together. It involves going over into my writing space every single day, never giving up on it. Even if I don't feel like writing, 4 or 5 hours every single day, because I superglue my intention into my imagination. And I don't allow anybody else's opinions to do anything to distract from that. I don't care if they tell me I can't do it, or if it's impossible, or it'll cost too much, or we can't do it. My intentions are superglued there. And I have that do not disturb sign placed on my imagination, and it is mine. Use this. Don't allow anybody else's opinions. Don't allow what it says on the internet. Don't allow the research. Don't allow what anybody out there tells you is possible or not possible for you.
The ego and awareness cannot coexist together. The ego is a kind of thinking that says that who I am is what I have and what I do and what other people think of me, and that I'm separate from everyone else, and I'm separate from God, and I evaluate myself on the basis of this. And many of you grew up with this idea that who you are is what you do, what you accumulate, what other people think of you, your reputation, and so on. Thinking with awareness is thinking from the highest place that there is. It's the kind of thinking that allows excuses to be eradicated from your life. It's the thinking that is talked about in the New Testament. With God, all things are possible. Now you tell me, what does that leave out? What does all things are possible leave out? Nothing, does it? So when you think from a place of awareness, you think in terms of, instead of using one of these excuses that you see popping up here on these little thought bubbles across the stage, I can't do it, I'm too tired, I'm too old, it's going to be difficult, it's going to take a long time, which is all the ego stuff which promotes these mind viruses and these memes. Instead of that, when you think with awareness, your first thought is, no matter what it is, if you get a cold, if you get if you hurt yourself in some way, your first thought isn't, oh, this is something I can't do anything about and I'm going to be hobbled and I'm going to... Your first thought is, with God, all things are possible. With Source, all things are possible. It doesn't mean that you're instantly healed and the cold is going to go away, but you set your mind on a new way of looking at virtually anything that comes into your life. All things are possible. And getting to that place in your life it's one of the most beautiful things that you can experience. And I try to practice this over and over and again, whatever it might be, whether it's a family crisis, whether it's a financial crisis, whatever it may be. Instead of saying that with the economy and it's going to turn down and terrible things are going to happen and I'm going to lose my job, you instantly have a thought, an affirmation within you that says, I can handle this. I am not alone. I can make myself get through this. I have the solution is going to be out there. I may not know what it is, but my thoughts are always on it's possible. So that's the first of these principles. The second of these principles is something that I call alignment. Hear this and hear this well. All excuses are misalignments. And when I say misalignment, I mean you're misaligned from your source. You came into this world from this perfect, this beautiful place. I have a wonderful paraphrase of a quote by T.S. Eliot. He said, we shall not cease from exploration. And at the end of all of our exploring will be to return to the place from which we originated and to know it for the first time. He was talking about death, I think. I'm saying, why should we have to die in order to get to that place? To know, to really know our source. I quoted it many times of Albert Einstein when he was asked a question about quantum physics or something. Again, it's a paraphrase. He said, all of that are just details. He said, I just want to learn to think like God thinks. That's really what alignment means. You think like the source thinks. And if you get to that place, you have to understand that whatever the creative source in the universe is, whether you call it the Tao or God or source or divine mind, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't need any excuses, does it? It doesn't ever say, well, I'd really like to create some rose bushes here, but I'm too busy. My hands are tied. I can't get to that right now. I'm a little old. I've been doing this for a long time. It's like, I'm tired. That's all I ever do. It's like, it doesn't do that. It just allows. It just allows. That's how you want to think. And every excuse that you saw coming up in these thought bubbles out there is really just a misalignment. You want to move to that. The creative source in your life. Here it is right here, this creative source. This source reacts to your belief in shortages with a fulfillment of your belief. If you believe there's shortages out there and you can't attract them into your life, now this is a source that is unlimited abundance. It just is a constant state of creating. It's always creating, okay? So it doesn't know anything about shortages. If you come to this source with a belief that there are shortages in terms of your life, it will fulfill your belief. If you believe that you can't be healed, that it's just impossible for you to be healed, if you believe you can't be happy, if you believe that you have to be miserable, if you believe that you can't attract the right person, if you've got something that you want to fund, some project that you want to fund, and you can't get it funded, and you come to this source with a belief in shortages, it will fulfill your belief. It only knows how to be. Remember what I said earlier. You are at one with this, and you are also at one with all of its principles. And you have to contemplate yourself as connected to, in harmony with, in rapport with this. It's like there's a game that's been on television for years. It's called the match game. And this match game is it's a fun little game to watch because you get people who you really think know each other, and they say something and they try to match it up. You're always you want to get into a match game yourself. And the match game you want to be into is one in which you match up with this source. You're going to always try to be matched up with that. What I'm asking you to do in this program, in an understanding intention and the power of intention, I'm asking you to see yourself at every moment of your life when you're having a thought, when things aren't working, when you're not feeling well, when the right people aren't there. You could say something to yourself. I heard people say this, I tell people always, think from the end. Think from the end. So I was talking to a man one day down where I work out in the gym, and I said to him, he's been sick, he's got nose running, he's got, Snoopy's running out of his nose, he's got, it's disgusting. And I said, how long have you been sick, Marty? You will never believe this answer. He said, in 3 weeks, it'll be a month. What kind of thinking is that? I was changing plane in Dallas one time, and there was about 8 minutes to go before I had to make a connection. And the woman next to me, she said, I said, I'd really appreciate if I could just step in front of you because I'm going to make my connection. She said, you're going to have to change trains and get to another terminal. She said, there's no way that you can make your connection. She's still in Dallas. I think from the end, I see myself as already connected to that which I want to attract into my life. And if it doesn't work out for some reason, I don't use blame, I don't get anger, I just simply say to myself, this is the way it is supposed to be. And I'm at peace with it. I choose to be at peace because this is peace. You want to watch the resistance. What kind of self-talk do we have? If you think about what is missing in your life, and you talk to other people about what is missing in your life, and you share a lot with what's missing in your life. I'm missing the right person. My soulmate has never showed up, you know. I'm missing the money. I don't have them. And you talk about all the things that are missing in your life. Here's your connection to Source. Remember, you're always connected. The question is, are you ready to stop living at ordinary levels of consciousness? Are you willing to live at a spiritual level of consciousness in which you are in rapport with that which provides everything? So if you're thinking about what's missing and you go to this universal source asking to have fixed what is missing in your life, you'll have your belief in what's missing continue to be refocused for you. In the Old Testament it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think about what is missing, don't be surprised if you keep attracting what's missing into your life. If you think about what always has been, then don't be surprised if what always has been is what keeps showing up in your life. Because thoughts are energy. And the thought of it's always been this way and there's nothing I can do, resistance. What emotion am I feeling? Frustration. I want to change that. What is my guidance system? I'm going to see how in harmony am I with this energy of Source, with the energy of intention. How in harmony with it am I? The source of all doesn't know anything about things being missing. There's nothing missing in this universal source. And you emanated from that. You are a piece of that. If you're always thinking about what they want for you, and there's no shortage of them, they're called relatives. I'm going to write a book someday that's going to be called Your Friends Are God's Way of Apologizing for Your Relatives. Why? Because, by the way, I gave this same talk to your relatives and they applauded even louder. Okay? Because a friend is someone before whom you can think aloud. A friend is not someone who makes demands on you and tells you what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. There are very often, because we believe that we're related to people, we have talk, and then what happens with us is that we start talking to other people about what they want for us. And we despise what they want for us. We get angry at them for even wanting that for us, and then we get surprised when what they want for us keeps showing up. See, self-actualizing people, Abraham Maslow once said, the difference between self-actualizing people, the highest functioning people, and everybody else is that self-actualizing people must be what they can be. Self-actualizing people must be what they can be. What can you be? What can you be? I'd like to see you change from this thought. Change from seeing yourself as separate to seeing yourself as connected to everyone and everything in the universe. Our ego tells us that we are separate, that who we are is this body that we have, and everybody out there is separate from me. Nothing has been more profound and more powerful and important for me than this verse of the Tao Te Ching. This idea that we are all one. That all of us emanated from the same source. And by doing so, by emanating from the same source, we need to see ourselves as connected to every single being, every single person, every single flower, every single tree, every single animal. If you can see yourself in everyone, we're all connected. It makes about as much sense to me to have a smoking section in a restaurant as it does to have a peeing section in a swimming pool, right? Oh, no, kids, no, don't pee over here. We pee over here. Does that make any sense? The Native Americans, one of my favorite quotes, I've used it many, many times. The Native Americans would say, no tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. No tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. We are all branches on a tree called humanity. When you read the Tao, when you read this idea about changing these thoughts and changing your life, you're going to see endless verses that speak to the absurdity of the idea of you having an enemy. The idea that you and anyone else on this planet is an enemy. In the Tao it says, I and enemy cannot exist in the same sentence. And he said, even those who go to war, the ones who will triumph in war are those who go to war without an enemy. And they will treat every victory in war not as something to celebrate, but as a funeral, as an indication that we haven't reached the highest place within ourselves to see that even those people that we judge to be our enemy are really connected to us. And it says in the Tao that a bad man is a good man's job, and a good man is a bad man's teacher. A good man is a bad man's teacher. There's an observation that I came across in the writing of Power of Intention by a man who gave a lecture, I'm not sure the exact year, but it was in the early 1900s. His name was Thomas Troward. And he gave a series of lectures on mental science at Edinburgh in Scotland, called the Edinburgh and Dorey Lectures. And one of those observations, one of those quotations was this. I really love this. He said, the law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things. Isn't that great? Imagine yourself trying to figure out, what he made an observation that before about the 15th or 16th centuries, all of the ships in the world were made out of wood. And why do you think they made ships out of wood for so many centuries? Because when you put wood in water, what happens? It floats. And our conclusion was, the law of flotation must be, you want things to float, make them out of things that float. But now we have realized that in studying the law of flotation, that it has nothing to do with what the material is made out. It has to do with the amount of water that is being displaced. So now all the ships of the world are made out of stuff that doesn't float, and yet they float. Imagine the law of flight being discovered by someone, by two brothers, contemplating the staying on the ground of things. So what we want to do is figure out a way to reconnect ourselves to surrounding ourselves with this idea that we are already connected to everything that we need for everything in our life. We've just separated ourselves by believing that we're something that we're not. In a book that I wrote a few years back called 10 Secrets for Success and Inner Peace, which was part of a PBS special, one of those secrets is called treasuring your divinity. Treasuring your divinity. And I came across this observation, and I was writing some notes on what I'm just talking about, on contemplating things. Listen to these words. We know that by the very nature of the creative process, which is what intention is about, learning to create the life that you want, the world that you want, the people that you want, the excitement that you want, the health that you want, everything. We know that by the very nature of the creative process that we are one with this originating spirit. And therefore, we are also one with all of its principles. Whatever this is like, whatever it sounds like, whatever it thinks like, whatever it looks like, we are one with it. And consequently, we are one with its infinite personality. We are not here as human beings having spiritual experiences. We are all spiritual beings having human experiences. All of us. We are all infinite. And therefore, Our contemplation of this source, as the power which we want, gives us the ability to use that power. And the way that we use this process is to contemplate ourselves as surrounded by the conditions which we want to produce. Keep that in mind. Underline that. Surround yourself internally with the conditions, contemplate them, which you want to produce. What is it you want to produce in your life? What do you intend to create for yourself? It's not your ego that's going to do it. It's your free will to reconnect to this, which is the source of everything. You're going to be, by the end of this program, you're going to be in rapport with, in harmony with this. If you call my cell phone, pick up the phone. I'm not going to give that number, but if you were to call this number, this is what you would get as a message from me. Hi, this is Wayne Dyer that you've reached, and I want to feel good. If your call is designed to do anything other than that, you have reached the wrong number, and I urge you to call Dr. Phil. I think of my source as the ocean, and I think of myself as a glass. And if I were to take this glass and I were to dip it into this ocean of abundance and say, what do I have here? What I have here is a glass of my source. Now, it's not as big, and it's not as strong, but it is still a glass of my source to which I am always connected. And if I were to take one drop of this source, and I were to put it over here, and I were to say to this drop of water, I would like you to create and sustain life. I would like you to perform miracles. I would like you to end all of my problems. And you watch that drop of water, separate from its source, you would see that it's going to change form from liquid into gas. And eventually, it'll return to its source. There's no place else that it can go. There's only one source. But while this drop of water is separate from its source, it loses all of the power of its source. And this drop of water, separate from its source, is a symbol or a metaphor for your ego, the part of you that believes that you have separated from this divinity into which you were created. And as long as you're here, believing that you're separate from it, you will not understand the powers that you get when you figure out a way to reconnect to your source and becoming quiet and becoming someone who is making conscious contact with your source. One of the most beautiful, and it's a true story as well. It goes like this. I call it the Shaya story. In Brooklyn, New York, this is titled, Where is God's Perfection? In Brooklyn, New York, Chush, C-H-U-S-H, Chush is a school that caters to learning disabled children. Some children remain in Chush for their entire school career, while others can be mainstreamed into conventional schools. At a Chush fundraising event, a dinner, the father of a Chush child delivered a speech that would never be forgotten by all who attended. After extolling the school and its dedicated staff, he cried out, "Where is the perfection in my son Shaya? Everything God does is done with perfection, but my child cannot remember facts and figures as other children do. Where is God's perfection here?" The audience was shocked by the question and pained by the father's anguish and stilled by the piercing query. "I believe," the father answered, "that when God brings a child like Shaya into the world, the perfection that he seeks is in the way people react to this child." He then told the following story about his son Shaya. One afternoon, Shaya and his father walked past a park where some boys Shaya knew were playing baseball. Shaya asked his father, "Do you think they'll let me play?" Shaya's father knew that his son was not at all athletic and that most boys wouldn't even want him on their team, but Shaya's father understood that if his son was chosen to play, it would give him a sense of belonging. And as you know, Maslow's highest level of consciousness is on that pyramid is a feeling of belonging. And Shaya never felt that way. Shaya's father approached one of the boys on the field and asked if Shaya could play. The boy looked around for some guidance from his teammates, and getting none, he took matters into his own hands. And he said, "Well, we're losing by 6 runs, and the game is in the 8th inning. I guess he can be on our team, and we'll try to put him up to bat in the 9th inning." Shaya's father was ecstatic as Shaya smiled broadly. Shaya was told to put on a glove and go out to play in center field. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Shaya's team scored a few runs, but they were still behind by 3. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Shaya's team scored again, and now with 2 outs and the bases loaded, Shaya was scheduled to be up with the potential winning run on base. Would the team actually let Shaya bat at this juncture of the game and give away their chance to win? Surprisingly, Shaya was given the bat. Everyone knew that it was all but impossible because Shaya didn't even know how to hold a bat, let alone hit with it. However, as Shaya stepped up to the plate, the pitcher moved in a few steps so he could lob the ball in softly so that Shaya would at least be able to make contact with the ball. The first pitch came in, Shaya swung clumsily, and he missed. And then one of Shaya's teammates came up out of the dugout, and together, he and Shaya held the bat and faced the opposing pitcher, waiting for the next pitch, the two of them. The pitcher again took in a few more steps toward Shaya so he could toss the ball even more softly. And as the pitch came in, Shaya and his teammate together swung the bat, and together they hit a slow ground ball to the pitcher. The pitcher picked up the soft grounder and could easily have thrown the ball to the first baseman. Shaya would have been out, and that would have ended the game. But instead, the pitcher took the ball and threw it on a high arc to right field, far beyond the reach of the first baseman. Everyone started yelling, "Shaya, Shaya, run to first, run to first." Never in his life had Shaya run to first. He scampered down the baseline, wide-eyed and startled. By the time he reached first base, the right fielder had the ball, and he could have thrown the ball to the second baseman, who would tag out Shaya, who was still running. But the right fielder understood what the pitcher's intentions were. So he threw the ball high and far over the third baseman's head. Everyone yelled, "Run to second, Shaya, run to second." Shaya ran toward second base as the runners ahead of him deliriously circled the bases toward home. As Shaya reached second base, the opposing shortstop ran up to him, turned him in the direction of third base, and shouted, "Run to third, Shaya, run to third." As Shaya rounded third, the boys from both teams ran behind him screaming, "Shaya, Shaya, run home, run home." Shaya ran home, stepped on home plate, and all 18 boys lifted him on their shoulders and made him the hero as he had just hit a grand slam and won the game for his team. That day, said his father, now with soft tears rolling down his face, those 18 boys reached their level of God's perfection. Is that a beautiful story? It always touches me. Jack was a Unity minister in Detroit. He passed away about 12 years ago. A man who, when I wrote Your Erroneous Zones 3 decades ago, called me up and asked me if he could put together some tapes on it, and would I give him permission. And he had started a Unity church over on the east side of Detroit, and asked me if he could use that. I said, absolutely. And over the years, I began to speak at his church and his congregation, and come to Detroit a lot, my home, and we became very close. We became like brothers. And he got very sick, and he had cancer throughout his back and so on. And I went with him to my friend Deepak Chopra's place, the Ayurveda Center out in Massachusetts. During the day, we would go out, and then in the evening, he would come in, and Jack always had to have a story. He had to tell a story. And he started talking to me about these wonderful little creatures called monarch butterflies, and how much he loved them. And the reason that he loved them, he said, Wayne, these are the most amazing little things in the world. I mean, they've got a brain the size of a pinprick, just no brain, essentially, and they're made out of tissue paper, you know, like toilet paper. They're just flimsy little things, and they come out, and they come out of a chrysalis on a branch in a tree in Brazil. Now they don't have a brain, and they're made out of toilet paper, essentially, and they fly to Nova Scotia, 4,385 miles away. And they spend some time there doing whatever you do in Nova Scotia if you're a monarch butterfly. And then they turn around, these pinprick brain toilet paper insects, and they fly all the way back to Brazil. But not only do they go back to Brazil, they go back to the same tree. Not only do they go back to the same tree, they go back to the same branch. And they start the whole process all over again with another cocoon. I mean, it's like, I've got a brain that's supposed to be pretty good size. I leave my cell phone in the bedroom. I did this just the other day, and I walk out of the bedroom, I can't find my cell phone. I have to call the number on another phone, and I'm listening to this funny little sound and looking under pillows. I know it's over. I had to call twice because I didn't want to get charged for the first call. Well, anyway, and these things can find the same branch that they came out of a cocoon on. So anyway, he would tell me about the miracle of these things. All right. So I wrote that whole story. The 17th chapter is about the language of spirit, how spirit speaks to us in ways that we're not even aware of. It speaks in terms of alignments. When things align, when the same numbers appear, the same ideas keep showing up, when these kinds of alignments show up. So I called my editor, Joanna, who's here tonight, who's edited everything I've done for the last 30 years or so, and only person in the world who can read my handwriting. I read her the story of Jack and the monarch butterfly, and I called my friend, the president of Hay House, who's my publisher, who's also here tonight, Reed Tracy, my best friends in the world. And I read both of them the story, all right? And then, because I always do that when I finish a chapter, I read it to just see what it sounds like. Took off on my walk. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm going for a walk along Kaanapali Beach. And I walk, and I walk, and I get out to this place called Black Rock, out on West Maui. And I'm walking there, and I'm at peace, and I'm going to meditate, and I got my cell phone with me, you know, I found it, and a monarch butterfly flies right out of the tree, and I don't think I've ever seen monarchs there before. Right? A monarch butterfly flies out of the tree and circles and lands right there, 3 feet in front of me. So I think, well, a little bit of a coincidence, but you know, that's because I just read the whole story, and I reach over to pick up this butterfly, and it looks at me like I'm a butterfly. You know, I don't deal with humans. I mean, my DNA is programmed to stay away from you, and it flies away, and it goes out about 40 yards, and it makes a U-turn, and it comes back, and it lands on my finger, right here. And I look at it, and I have never had this happen before in my life. I've had butterflies brush up against me once, but I've never had one just seek me out. So it lands here, and I immediately reached for my cell phone, and I called Joanna, you remember? And I said, Joanna, there's a monarch butterfly on my finger. You know what I just read to you this morning, she said, as she always does. She's so sweet and peaceful. Meditate. I said, meditate? This is a monarch butterfly. I just wrote about him and Jack and all. She said, just go meditate on him. So I call another number. And I call Reed, the president of Hay House, my buddy, all right? And I said, Reed, I read to you this morning about a monarch butterfly. I've now got one on my finger. It flew to me. He said, get a picture. I said, what are you talking about? Get a picture. I've got my bathing suit on and a cell phone. I don't have a camera. He said, we've been thinking about what's going to be on the cover of the book. He said, this is perfect. Right away thinking about, this is inspiration. This is like it's come to you for that reason. Get a picture, get a picture. So I took Joanna's advice, and I meditated. Now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon when this happened, and I meditated for 30 minutes, and I called Joanna back, and I said, it's still with me. And I called Reed back, he said, get a picture. So, now this butterfly is doing, during the meditation, I don't know how to say this without sounding strange, but it's okay because every word of this is true. I swear to you, this butterfly was trying to talk to me. I don't know how close you've ever looked at a monarch butterfly, but it had tiny little, almost like teeth, but they're not really teeth. I know they don't have teeth. And I bring the butterfly up real close to my eye, and it's doing this. I swear. And I said, Jack? Because I had just written about him. I thought it was Jack. And then I took the butterfly and I put it over by my ear in case it was making little sounds and it had a little, I was just totally freaked out by this thing because it's now been an hour. It's been an hour. It's now, and it won't go. It's like I take it over here, I put it over on this finger, it's over here, and it won't go. And I'm going, okay, that was not, it won't leave. It's just connected to me. So I walk, I said, maybe Reed's got a point here. Maybe we need to get a picture of this thing. So I decide to walk back to where I live. And I walk along now on Maui in the afternoon, the trade winds come in, and they really blow hard in the afternoon. And I'm walking, the ocean is over here, the trades are coming in, and the butterfly's wings, toilet paper, are all the way bent over, but it won't leave. All the way bent, as far as it can go, and then I come back and I get out of the wind and it goes, it's like flashing and making sounds, and I hold it up. So I'm walking along the beach, the beach there, and there's a little girl she's about 4, 5, 6 years old, who's totally traumatized because she got the wrong color Slurpee. That's her issue, okay? Giving her mother more grief, I want to tell her about Immaculate in the bathroom. I want to tell her, she, I didn't want purple, I wanted yellow, and you gave me purple Slurpee. I hate purple Slurpees. Going on and on. It's real. So I tap her on the shoulder, tears are on, and I said, you want to see my pet butterfly? I did. She said, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? I said, Jack. This is Jack. I did. And she went from, I don't know how to say this. She went from pissed to blissed, okay? I mean, I don't know if they can use that. She went from, being so upset to just this total state of bliss in just 1 second. The tears dried up. She smiled. She wanted to know if she could take it home. I said, no. What are you talking about? This is my butterfly, I get all the way back to where I'm going. It's now about 1:30 in the afternoon. About an hour and a half has gone by. I live in a place where they have a concierge downstairs, and there's a pool there, and there's a girl there. Her name is Cindy. And I walk upstairs, and I call Cindy down at the pool, and I said, Cindy, can you walk over to the ABC store and get a portable camera and be here in 5 minutes? She said, you want me to come to your apartment with a portable camera in 5 minutes? I said, yes, I do. She said, why? I said, I want you to take a picture of me and my butterfly. She said, what are you smoking? I said, no, it's true. I found a butterfly, and she does yoga, and she's like one of these people. And she said, okay. I also said, there's $100 in it for you if you can get here in 5 minutes. She went up there, came back. She had got one of these little cameras. I went out, sat on the lanai with the manuscript, and I had 29 pictures she got of me with the butterfly. And I was posing with it. It was like, over here. See my butterfly over here? My butterfly. I was. I didn't know what he wanted. I don't know what, So she went. That's the actual butterfly. Truly it is. Now we had to take a different picture because those $13 cameras aren't the kind you can use on photographs, on books, and so on. But I insisted that they put Jack on my finger on this, so they transposed it through, I don't know, through computers or whatever. So that's the actual butterfly. And if it flies out of there right now, I'm going to fall down, all right? I promise you. So I get back. I had the picture. She went, took the camera in, got the pictures developed. It's now around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's been, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been 2 hours. Right? But now I don't know what I'm going to do with this butterfly. What do you feed a butterfly? Do I get a leash? Do I get a cage? Am I going to keep him? Do I, get rid of him? Whatever. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But I set it down on the manuscript that I had handwritten that morning, where I talked about Jack and the Monarch butterfly, and I set it on there, figuring it maybe recognized that this is where it came from or whatever. I had it walking around on the, and I went back, took a shower, it was gone, did a little meditation, did a little work, and so on. Came back, butterfly is still there. 2.5 hours. And I reached down after having taken a shower, and I put my finger down there, and the butterfly looked back up at me just like it did when I went to pick it up down here, as if to say, well, who are you and what are you doing? And I'm going to show you that I'm not sick and this isn't an accident. And it took up and it circled me and it took off straight out towards the ocean, made a circle, and was gone. All right? And that's my butterfly story.
Determination is one of the most important principles you can practice in your life, especially when it comes to your burning desire. A burning desire is what separates us from mediocrity and ordinariness. As you listen to my stories, I want you to decide that you will be determined never to give up on or to ignore your burning desire, whatever it may be. Choose to honor your burning desire, and you will climb the sacred ladder towards higher ground.
The next principle I call don't die with your music still in you. And who better to quote than Thoreau right here in Concord when he talked about some of us hear a different drummer and we must march to the music that we hear. But all of you, everybody watching, everybody here in this beautiful parish, all of you have some music playing. And all of you have a heroic mission. There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it. And too many of us are afraid to listen to that music and march to it. You out there, I know you have a book you wanted to write. I know there's a composition you wanted to compose. I know there's a song you want to sing someplace. Maybe you want to raise horses out in Montana. Or maybe you want to open up an ice cream shop on Cape Cod. Who knows what it may be. Maybe you just want to travel and see the world. Maybe you want to go into a relationship with someone, but you've been afraid to, but your heart says it's the right thing to do. All of us feel something. And in Leo Tolstoy's famous novel, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, he asks this question that would be terrifying to me. He says, as he has his accountant from Moscow lying on his deathbed, contemplating the horror of this question, what if my whole life has been wrong? I've known what my music is. It's playing right now. As I stand here in front of you with these cameras and in this place, and as I sit down and write my books and tell the world what I know are my truths, I feel always completely on purpose and fulfilled. And no time will I ever come to the end of my life and say, what if my whole life has been wrong? Whoever you are, whatever that music is, however distant it may sound, however strange, however weird others may interpret it to be, don't get to the end of your life and know that you're going to leave and not have it played yet. Don't die with your music still in you. It's the message of the greatest teachers who've ever walked among us. It's the message I give to you today as one of the principles for success and peace in your life. One of the great teachers in my life was a man named Patanjali. And he had an observation about being in spirit. The word in spirit creates a word called inspire. And Patanjali put it this way. He said, when you are inspired in spirit, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. And then he said something so powerful. He said, dormant forces, like forces that you didn't think were accessible to you, dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive. And you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Those words bring tears to my eyes. They're so powerful. When you are inspired, when you are in spirit. When you're in spirit, you are creating. When you are creating, everything is working. My teacher in India one time, Nisargadatta Maharaj, said, when he was asked the question, there's wars going on in Pakistan, there's people having difficulties here, there's people dying, there's starvation. How can you say that I can heal myself, and how can you be at peace when you see all of this going around? And you know what he said to his devotee? He said, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. What a powerful idea that is. You can't get sick enough to heal those people who are sick around you. You can't get poor enough to take care of the lack of abundance in so many people's life. The only thing you can do to help that, as I'll be talking about a little later, is to connect to this. I would suggest to you, if you are not creating, and if you wonder what your purpose is, and so many people wonder, what is my purpose? And they talk to, I don't know what my purpose is. You know what that is? Your thoughts about your purpose are your purpose trying to reconnect to you. Like if you want to quit smoking, and people say, oh, it's such a hard thing to do. Well, of course, that's resistance. And then, you know, who wants to do hard things when easy things like smoking are available? But if you, and people say, well, I've been thinking about it. I said, keep thinking about it. Just keep thinking. You want to lose weight? Keep thinking about it. Put your attention on it. Surround yourself with those kind of thoughts, because the thinking about it process is a part of your connecting to it. Eventually, you will connect to it and you will begin to act upon what those thoughts are. But you got to start by thinking about it. And the ultimate purpose you can have in your life, I used to have a jacket that I hung on my closet door. And the jacket had all of the pockets ripped off. I took a razor blade to all the pockets. Because someone had once said to me that the last jacket you wear doesn't need any pockets. So, because you're not taking anything with you in your pockets, all right? So every time I'd walk into my closet and I'd look at this tattered jacket with no pockets in it, it was a reminder. You're going to have to wear a jacket someday that doesn't need any pockets, all right? And so what do you do with your life? Your life is like a parenthesis in eternity. You show up from an infinite source. You materialize. You're a particle. Everything you needed for this life is in it. And then you close parentheses. What can you do with your life? You can't take anything with you. You came from nowhere, N-O-W-H-E-R-E. You show up in now here, N-O-W-H-E-R-E. It's all the same, just a question of little spacing. And where do you think you're going? Back to, you ain't going nowhere. You're going nowhere. From nowhere to now here to nowhere, it's all the same. The only thing you can do with your life is give it away. When people say to me, what is it that I can do with my life? What is my purpose? My answer is always the same. Find a way to be of service. Find a way, whatever it is. Doesn't matter if you're serving ice cream cones in Alaska. It doesn't matter if you're raising horses in Montana. Whatever it is, when you are of service, if you're giving your life away, and if you don't know how to do that, you suspend your ego. You understand that living on purpose means there's no accidents. That you're aligning yourself with purpose. You ignore other people when they tell you what you should be doing. You just ignore it. You don't have to have a fight about it. You can say, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. It's very helpful. I've never thought of that before. I'll consider that. That's how you handle all conflict. Can I join up with this source energy, or can't I? As soon as you start striking out, you're off of purpose. You have to contemplate yourself surrounded by the conditions you want to produce. That's the first phase of intention. It's ridiculous, okay? But it's more than what meets the ear as you hear this. You can't give away what you don't have. People who are not good at giving away love can't give away love because they don't have it to give away. If I want to give you a dozen oranges, I can't give you those dozen oranges unless I go out and pick up 12 oranges someplace. Otherwise, all it is just empty rhetoric. And the same thing is true of virtually everything in your life. You can't give away love for others if you don't have love in here to give away. If what you have in here is contempt, if what you have in here is anger, if what you have in here is fear, then these are the things you're going to be giving away in your life. And I've often thought, and I really believe very strongly that there's a law, sort of a law in the universe. I call it the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is one that works like this. You get back from the universe, from the world, what it is that you put out there in the world. And if you're putting out there into the world that I am not worthy of attracting something beautiful into my life, that the universe will respond back to you with exactly that message. And there are people who come to me and who came to me for years when I had my own counseling practice and so on, and they would say to me, I just keep attracting the same kind of people, the same kind of events, the same kind of losers into my life. Why is that? Why do I keep doing that? And I keep attracting an absence of abundance. I just can't seem to attract abundance into my life. I'm always behind the 8 ball. I'm never getting ahead. And I suggest to them, I said, did it ever occur to you that that's the very kind of message you're sending out to the world and out to the universe? That the ocean of abundance is there. And you can go to that ocean of abundance And you can take a Mack truck and you can fill it up 20 times a day and take it out of there, and guess what? It doesn't impact at all the ocean of abundance. It doesn't even go down a zillionth of an inch. It's unlimited. Or you can go to the same ocean of abundance with a eyedropper, and you can just take this much out once a month and say, that's all that seems to be available for me. And the interesting thing for me is that when people go to this ocean of abundance, this unlimited world, all that I have is thine, it says in the holy books. All that I have is thine. It's all there for you. But if you believe inside that it's limited, that you can only get so much, that other people are going to get it before you do, then you'll find yourself creating that very same thing. And the even more interesting part about this, you can't give away what you don't have principle, is that if your message to the universe is gimme, 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 which is a lot of people's message to the universe. I want this from you, I want that from you, please give me this, I have to have that. That's what their prayer is like, that's what their message is, you know, and they say, I want this from the universe, gimme, gimme, gimme. The universe's response back to that kind of a mentality is exactly the same. The universe will say right back to you over and over again, gimme, gimme, gimme. And you'll find yourself never, ever arriving, but always being in a state of striving, always feeling as if you're being neglected, never feeling as if you have enough, always feeling as if you're being shortchanged, because you're constantly under the pressure to give, to get back what the universe is demanding from you. And the interesting thing about all of this, the irony of this, is that if you shift that and you say to the universe, to the world, how may I serve? How may I serve? The universe's response back to you is, how may I serve you? How may I serve you? Now, every single person watching this program will have conflicts with somebody in their life on a fairly regular basis, especially if you're in a marriage or in a partnership of some kind. Certainly if you have children, you're going to have conflicts. Now think about what you do when you have a conflict and that conflict comes to an end. The conflict is over. You've expressed your opinion, you may have yelled at each other, you may have screamed at each other, you may not have understood each other, but it's over now. How do you end the conflict? Lao Tzu says, the person of Tao will eliminate all of the pain, all of the stress, all of the anger, all of the hatred, if they decide to end the conflict with love. Just be the one who ends the silence by saying, we don't agree, but I love you. And it's all over. You have moved a person from staying in the world of the 10,000 things into the world of God, into the world of Source, because the Source has no violence in it. It creates endless numbers of flowers and beings and creations without using any force at all. There's no force there. Here's one of my teachers who lived in Bombay, which is now Mumbai in India. His name was Nisargadatta Maharaj. He said, wisdom is knowing I am nothing. Love is knowing I am everything. And in between the two, my life moves. In between the two. The ability to take a conflict and to end it with love is one of the most powerful things that you can do. It has been a great lesson for me. When we have a conflict, what we do is I will be the person that will pick up that phone. You can be certain of it. I will end that conflict with love. And guess what that does to the conflict? It's over. It's over. You can't pick a fight with someone who just doesn't want to fight anymore, who just sends you love. Not too long ago,
just a year or so ago, I was going to give a lecture in Ephesus, Turkey. And I had taken a group of people over there, some 300 of us. And I was going to give a lecture on Rumi. It was his 805th birthday, September the 30th. And I was going to speak at the home where the mother of Jesus lived the last 30 to 40 years of her life. So there were 10 buses. There were 300 and some of us. And the buses all stopped, and we all went to go into the restrooms. And so, of course, the women went over here, and they had to stand in long lines. And the men went into a room which is just one gigantic urinal. And you can imagine, how wonderful it would be to be in there, just rethinking it just brings back such wonderful memories, So I went into this urinal, and standing at the door, there's a man, an older man, and he's taking off pieces of sort of dirty paper, and he's handing them to us, expecting a tip, for handing us a piece of dirty paper in this room that, you almost had to gag to stay in. And when you move towards this thing called divine love, and you want to move towards egolessness and so on, there's sort of like a sequence that takes place. And the sequence is that first you catch yourself with thoughts that do not align with this place of divine love. You catch yourself in the sequence. Okay, I thought that and I got to remember not to do that the next time. And then the next part of that sequence is you go back and you correct the thought. So if you say it, you stop and you make the correction. Because you're really trying to change your subconscious mind is what you're trying to do, so that you can become a being of love rather than a being of ego who's just, get it. And then you start checking your behavior. You realize, oh my gosh, I behaved rudely toward that person, or I wasn't considerate of that, or I judged that person. And so you catch yourself and you say, oh, I behaved that way. The next time I'm not going to do that. But if you want to really change your subconscious programming and move to this place of divine love, which is going to end this show, it's in the last act, you go back and you correct the behavior. And that's what happened to me in Ephesus, Turkey that day. I had a very bad judgment about what was taking place there. It took me back to things that I probably thought and grew up with, and who is this guy doing in there? Why should he be expecting a tip? And why is he handing me this dirty piece of paper? And there's always people there. They're always trying to make a buck. And there's all of this endless kind of ego-based kind of non-compassionate thinking. And when he went to hand me the paper, I just moved away. And then I just walked through and was heading back to give a lecture on how to be a spiritual being at the home of the mother of Jesus, at the home of the mother of Jesus. And I got about halfway back there, and I stopped myself, and I changed the sequence, because that's what I've been working on. Don't just change the thought, don't just correct the thought, don't just remember the behavior. Correct the behavior now, and then it'll make an impression on your subconscious mind, and you'll start behaving differently towards people in that position. So what I did is I went back, and I didn't tell anybody there that I was doing it, but I walked back to that bathroom, and I had a 20 euro note in my pocket, which is at that time about $30. And I handed it to this man, and I put my arms around him and brought him close to me, and I thanked him for just the courtesy of offering me something to wipe my hands in this place. And my thoughts in here were, I didn't just correct my behavior, but who knows what's going on? And maybe this is how he feeds his family of 12 children. Who knows? Or maybe he's an opportunist but it's like somebody asking you for money, when you walk. You don't have to give money to everybody who asks you for it on the street, but you also don't have to judge them. You can always give a silent blessing and move along. But for me, it was important to correct the behavior, because it then reinforced for me, and it also impacted the talk that I was going to give that day. Coming from a place of compassion is really about loving yourself. It's about forgiving yourself. It's about being open to miracles. That Walt Whitman once said that to me, he said in Leaves of Grass, every cubic inch of space is a miracle, and everyone in it, I say, is a miracle. Those of you who have followed me over the years know that one of my very favorite songs is Amazing Grace. It's a very powerful song. We have to walk down a new street. There it is, a new street. And not just for ourselves, but for the planet and for our children. There's a wonderful prayer that the Native Americans would say. When we walk upon the earth, we place our feet very carefully because we know that the faces of our future generations are looking up at us from beneath the ground, and we never forget them. Sometimes I think we have forgotten them. Sometimes I think we forget that we are borrowing our planet from them. This is theirs, and they're just letting us use it. This, on this stage with me, I'm proud to say, is the San Diego Children's Choir. And I would like to tell all of you, ladies and gentlemen, the story about the song you're about to sing. This song was composed by a man named John Newton, who lived back in the 18th century. And he was in the business of selling human beings into slavery. He was 22 years old, and he was a slave ship captain. And in this hideous practice that was so commonplace in the 17th and 18th centuries in the British and American empires, he was taking people from West Africa on his ship to the New World, to South Carolina, to be sold into slavery. And halfway across the ocean, he encountered a storm. And he heard from the wailing of one of the people that was to be sold into slavery, the sounds. And he took out an envelope and he wrote on the back of this envelope the words to a song. I once was lost, and now I'm found. I once walked down an old street, and I'm walking now on a new street. And in one moment, his life was changed. And the storm passed, and legend tells us that he turned his ship around, and he went back to Africa, and he released all of the people who were still alive. And then he took his ship to a place in England called Bristol, and gave up being a slave ship captain, and became the most ardent spokesman for the abolition of slavery, and was almost single-handedly responsible for ending this horrible, nefarious, hideous practice of selling human beings. And it all happened in one moment, one instant, one quantum moment. Any of us can change our lives in one moment and reverse the old street and begin walking on a new street. So the San Diego Children's Choir, we're so proud to have you come out here and conclude this program on Wishes Fulfilled. And they're going to sing for you Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace.
intention. 1, want more for others than you want for yourself. Want more for others. Whatever it is that you perceive to be missing, whatever health problems that you may have, whatever addictions you're struggling with, whatever lack of love that you have in your life, whatever lack of peace that you have with your aunts and your uncles or your parents or your in-laws, want the peace that you seek for yourself more for them. Want it more for them. That is how we create this level of consciousness. Secondly, think from the end. Begin to see yourself surrounded by the people and the events and the things that you would like to have. Only see yourself. You're having a problem with an addiction, see yourself as addiction-free. See yourself, if there's a car that you want. My son was perfect at this, Sans. I mean, he's just so good at this. Because there's a certain car that he wanted. It's yellow. And he didn't just bug me about it every day, which they all do. And all kids will do that. But he saw himself. He got a picture of it. He put it on his computer. It's the background of his computer, this yellow whatever it is. All right? I call it the school bus. I told him I was going to put cab fares on the side of it, but that's what he wanted. Huh? And then he saw him, and then he went down and he drove it. And it was a used car, and he got on the internet, and he just saw himself in it. He couldn't not see himself in it. You know, we call this just persistence and being a pain in the rear end oftentimes, but it's not that at all. What it is young people have this instant knowing and awareness that I can create what I want for myself in my life, and the way that I do it is I act as if it's already here. And almost like they won't be denied it. That's what intention is. It's not that pit bull attitude. It's that awareness that I am thinking from the end. It's already here, because everything that you think is missing from your life is already here. The third of these dozen is to be an appreciator in your life. Be an appreciator. Look for that which is valuable rather than worthless. Look, you go out and you buy a house, and 10 years later, we say it appreciates in value. What does that mean? What does it mean that a house appreciates? It is more what? Valuable. It's more same thing with you. If you're an appreciator, you have more value. What could be more valuable than being connected to Source? 4. Stay in rapport with Source energy. Stay in rapport. Your job here is to be in a state of harmony with this. Constantly reminding yourself, is this how my Source thinks? 5. Resistance. Understand this about resistance. Every thought that you have that is other than that which you emanated from is resistance. Every unkind thought, every uncreative thought, every thought of judgment, every thought of fear, every thought of depression, every thought of it can't happen, all resistance. So if you say, well, easy for him, he can talk about this, but I can't, that's resistance. You're right, absolutely. Even if you think all of this is a bunch of nonsense, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely, because for you, that's what you believe. And if you believe that, the universal Source will help you to fulfill that belief. 6th is what I talked about many times in the program. Contemplate yourself as surrounded by the conditions which you want to produce. Contemplate yourself that, because the way you are one with Source. You are always one with Source. You are one with all of its principles, all of those phases. You are one with it. It can't be anything other than it is. Neither can you. 7, understand the art of allowing. Allowing means taking the path of least resistance. Every time you have a thought that has resistance in it, what you have done is you have created an absence of allowing. You have to almost think like, here I am here, and here's Source. How much energy can I pull from it? How much energy can I pull from it? Are you pulling energy from Source, or are you away from it? Allowing. Allow yourself. 8, practice radical humility. You are not this body that you are in. You are not this mind that you are in. You are not any of the possessions that you have. You are a divine source. 9, be in a constant state of gratitude. Be grateful for everything that shows up. Everything. Stay in a state of being generous and grateful in your life. Because what could be more generous than that which has allowed you to come from the infinite source to this material world and back? 10, keep in mind that you can never resolve a problem by condemning it. Any problem that you have, when you use shame, you are using the lowest energy that's out there in the universe. You cannot shame your way into higher consciousness, into source energy. 11, play the match game. Play the match game. Always ask yourself, am I matched up with the field of intention? And finally, meditate. Make it a practice in your life. Meditation is essential because it is your way of staying connected to source. What is the only thing in the universe that can't be divided? You cannot divide God. Everything else has an up, down, north, south, east, west, male, female, right, wrong, black, white, alive, dead. Everything comes in dichotomies, except for silence. Silence, you cut it in half, what do you get? More silence. Cut it in half again, more silence. Cut source in half, just more source. You can't divide it. Meditation, stay in the gap.
Many of our greatest thinkers have spoken about the power of imagination. William Blake said that what is now proved was once only imagined. Now think about the importance of that. If you want to have something show up in your life, the kind of person you would like to become, manifest something new into your life, something powerful, whatever it might be, you obviously must first be able to imagine it. Your imagination. This is yours and yours alone. You can place anything into your imagination that you want to place there. Independent of what anybody else says about it, independent of what your senses tell you, independent of all the evidence that may be to the contrary, you can place into your imagination an I am that represents what you would like to attract into your life and make it come into fruition. Einstein's most famous quote, one of his most famous observations, he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination as an I am, but you must be able to feel it. Our feelings are the things that take place in our body. It says, Neville says, and I have this on next to my bed where I live in Maui, make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So whatever it is that you would like to experience in your life, remember, your imagination is yours. Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined, okay? Henry David Thoreau had probably the greatest definition of success that I have ever heard. He said, if you advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams and endeavor to live the life which you have imagined, you will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. It will chase after you if you can place into your imagination what it is that you would like to attract and begin to feel it. Listen to Neville. This is one of my most favorite quotes from The Power of Awareness. That which you feel yourself to be, you are. And you are given that which you are. So assume the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of your wish. And your wish must be realized. So live in the feeling of being the one you want to be, and that you shall be. Every feeling makes a subconscious impression. And unless it is counteracted by a more powerful feeling of an opposite nature, it must be expressed. Your feelings are different from your thoughts. Your feelings are what you experience in your body. The dominant of two feelings is the one expressed. I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. I am healthy says I feel healthy, and I feel healthy. I feel great. I don't determine if I am well on the basis of what it says on a piece of paper or on the basis of what somebody else out there tells me. I live my life feeling within my body that I am strong, I am capable, I am able. And that is not just something that I say. It's not just an affirmation. An affirmation is an intellectual exercise. This is a spiritual knowing within that I am well, I am content, I am prosperous. But the words that Neville used there are the subconscious. Every feeling that you have makes a subconscious impression upon your body and upon your awareness. Now, you need to understand the subconscious mind of yours. Your subconscious mind rules your life. 96 to 97% of everything that you do is done as a result of your subconscious mind. And when your subconscious mind gets programmed, it goes ahead and responds to whatever it is your conscious mind has placed into it. I was 18 years old. I was in the United States Navy for 4 years. And they sent me to a school in Bainbridge, Maryland, to become a radioman and a cryptographer. And we spent an hour a day, every day, for the first 3 or 4 weeks we were there, on a typewriter, learning Morse code. Okay? And my conscious mind had to program my subconscious mind. Now, this subconscious mind of yours is operating all the time. You're sitting here watching a television show. You got up, you picked up your remote control, you turned the channel on, you got dressed, you ate lunch, you went to the bathroom, you go to work, you get into your car, you drive to work, you don't think about what I'm going to do. Everything that is going on in your life, everybody in here in this room, you got here through your subconscious mind. You didn't have to think about every single thing that you were doing, but there was a time when you did in order to learn that. This habitual subconscious mind of yours rules your life. So I'm 18 years old, I'm taking Morse code. Here's the alphabet, a little bit of it anyway. Da da did it, da da did, da da did, did da did, da da did, did it, da da da, da da da, da da did, da 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 did, da da da, da da did. That's A through P. Check it out. That's 53 years ago. And my subconscious mind is still keeping track of the da-da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. You're doing the same thing, only you don't use Morse code, but you've programmed your subconscious mind with did-da-da-da, da-da-da, I can't do that, did-da-da, da-da-da, I'm not very attractive, did-da-da, da-da-da, I'm overweight, did-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da, I can't make things happen, and it's did-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da, it's still there, 53 years later, and you go through your life with this subconscious programming with an awareness that you are not in charge. You're not able to extend or transcend this way of thinking. This subconscious mind of yours is most impacted by your feelings. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. Write it down. Stick it on the wall next to your bed. If you came into where I sleep, you would see that. I look at that all the time. I want to practice putting into my subconscious mind the assumption of the feeling of what it is that I would like to attract into my life as if it already existed, and to feel it, not just to think it, but to feel it. Neville's law of assumption says this: if this assumption about what you would like to become is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is absolutely inevitable. You must first assume the feeling of a wish fulfilled in all aspects of your life.
I appeared on the Tonight Show many years ago, several times, quite a few times. And I remember coming home from the Tonight Show, and I was walking along the beach, and they had taped the show the night before, and I was out for a walk, and a woman who lived in the Northeast stopped me, and she said, "Didn't I see you last night on the, how could you be here?" I said, "Well, I flew the red eye, and I was walking along." And she said, "You know, we're moving down here." She said, "What are the people like here? What's it like?" And I said to her, I said, "Well, what are they like where you live?" She said, "Well," she said, I live in a very big city." And she said, "They're very pushy. And people are not very kind. And they don't have time for you." And she said, "It's really not very pleasant." She said, "That's one of the reasons I'm leaving there." I said, "Well, that's pretty much what you're going to find here." That's basically what the people are like here. On the way back on the same day, someone else who had seen me the night before on The Tonight Show, who had lived in the Midwest, stopped me and asked me almost the same question. She said, "You live here?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, my husband and I are moving here and we're looking for a school." She said, "What are the people like here? What's it like here?" I said, "What are they like in Chicago where you live?" She said, "It's the Midwest." She said, "People are very friendly, they're open, they open their homes to you, they're very loving, they're very kind." She said, "It's a wonderful place." She said, "I love that, I'm going to really miss that." I said, "That's pretty much what you're going to find here." It's what you expect, it's what you think about that expands. It's what Emerson taught us. The ancestor to every action is a thought. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. Change your expectations, and you change around what you begin to manifest and see showing up in your life. So I want to summarize some of these thoughts, and there are so many. Change your thoughts based upon the wisdom of the Tao, and your life will change. There's many principles to live by in the Tao. First, remind yourself that there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. Bring happiness to all that you do. You accomplish much by trying less. It's so inconsistent, isn't it, with what we lived in the Western world. But the less you try, when I go out and swim in the ocean, and I do it almost every day, I try to do between 30 minutes and an hour every day, being out there in that ocean. And I just get out there, and if I try less, my arms just seem to know what to do, and the breathing just all works, and and I can swim all day. As soon as I try, as soon as I struggle, as soon as I start trying, the minute that I move myself into trying, it's like if I were to take this little cap here and drop it right there and say, "I'm going to try to pick this up. I'm going to try to pick this up." This is what Lao Tzu was speaking about. So all of this, I'm trying, I'm really trying. All of this is called, in reality, not picking it up. That's what that's called, not picking it up. But when I just get easy and do less. See yourself, the Tao says, in everyone you encounter. A great lesson. Every single being, especially the ones that we read about who we're told are our enemies. See yourself in them. Know that whoever they are, wherever they live, they want what we want. They want what I want. They want to be at peace. They don't want to be always struggling. They don't want to be sick. They just want to be loved, whoever they are. I know the skepticism of that. It's like, yes, but, all of the yes, buts. But if they got it too, see, Lao Tzu wasn't speaking to, well, some are going to get this and some probably won't. He was speaking to all of us, Trust in others, the Tao says, to know what's best for themselves. Trust in that. Trust in the pliability, the flexibility of your babies. God, those little babies, they're so great when they're like, 2 weeks old. You can take their foot, put it behind their neck, stick it around here like this, put it in their mouth. They're so flexible. I mean, you can do anything. You pick them up, you turn them upside down. You watch them when they're starting to learn to walk. And they run, crash, they go down into the walls and all of this. And you think, oh my God, this kid will never walk again. Up they go, and they don't. Trust in their flexibility. Live without attachment and be generous. Be strong by bending. By bending. We need to learn this in our lives. We need to learn this in the world. It's not so important to be right. It's so much more important when you have a choice to be right or to be kind. Always pick kind. Always pick kind. Practice radical humility. Live low. Live low like the ocean. Stay low. And all the streams will come to it. That's why it's so powerful, because it doesn't lord anything over anyone. And rather than looking for miracles, see everything as miraculous. Everything in your life. One of my little girls, her name is Sky, and when she was just a baby, she would love to sit on my stomach when we were in the swimming pool or in the ocean. And she would just sit up there, and she would love to sing. And when she would sit up on there, we would sing this song. And I would put my arms in the water, and she would be sitting up there. She's a year and a half old, and she would laugh. She was always full of laughter and beauty. And as we would sing this song, I thought it had so much meaning. It had so much sense. And the song goes like this. Most of you know it. We would sing, row, row, row. And as we would sing, row, 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 I would think that just means to me, just go out there into your life and be and work and do. Because when you're born, Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet, said, when you are born, your work is placed in your heart. There's something that you came here to do. There's no mistakes in this universe. The only mistakes are the mistakes that we have, that we are separate from the perfection into which we were created. Row, row, row your boat. Don't row my boat. Don't row somebody else's boat. Don't try to row a boat that somebody else tells you you should be rowing. Row, live, work your own boat. And how do you row this boat? Always gently. Always gently. Always with love. Always with peace. Always with kindness. Row your boat that way. Row your boat gently down the stream. Don't row up the stream. It takes away all of your energy. And it'll just create a counterforce of frustration for you. Get in the stream of life and row your boat gently down the stream with the currents of life, with the great Creator. Merrily, always with joy, always with cheerfulness, merrily, 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 merrily. And you know, Thoreau put it this way. He said, our truest life is when we are in our dreams awake, because life is but a dream. Let's sing it together just for a minute. Together, ready? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. That's all it is. It's just a dream. God bless you.
And God bless you. I'd like to end this program on Excuses Begone with a story. It's a story I heard many, many years ago, and I've never forgotten. It's a story of an older woman who lived by the side of a river up in the mountains, the Himalayas. And she was a divine soul, and she carried with her bread in a sack. And one day, she was sitting by the edge of the river where she lived, And as she was looking at the riverbed, she noticed a precious stone. Not just any precious stone, but a precious stone like this, big. And she picked it up and realized that with this precious stone and its value, she would have a lock on abundance and prosperity for the rest of her life. Such was its value. And as she was sitting there, she put the stone back in her bag, and a man, a traveler, an itinerant traveler, came along and noticed her sitting by the edge of the river. And he asked her, he said, "I'm hungry, I've had nothing to eat. Could I have something to eat?" She said, "Of course." And she reached into her bag, and she took out a crust of bread and handed it to him. As she did this, the traveler noticed the precious stone gleaming. And he said to her, "I'd like to have that. Could I have that, please?" And she said, "Of course." And she reached into the bag and she handed it to him. Now he knew, being poor, that this was the answer to his success he had always wanted, and the abundance and the prosperity, and he left. And the next day he came back. And he talked to the woman. He said, "I'm giving you this stone back." He said, "But I would like you to give me something even more precious than this stone." And she said, "What would that be?" He said, "I would like you to give me what you have inside of you that allowed you to give me that stone." And that's the message of Excuses Begone. God bless you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. If you would like to accomplish something, you must first expect it from yourself. Every one of you. You are a spark that can grow until you recognize that you truly are divine beings. Because in every moment of your life, and every moment of your lives, you have this choice. You can either be a host to God or a hostage to your ego. It's your call. God bless you. And God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Explore new worlds and new ideas through programs like this. Made available for everyone through contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Way back, 800 years ago, there lived a little man who gave up all of his possessions. He lived in a little village in Italy, near Florence, called Assisi. And we named one of our most famous cities in America after him. His name was Francesco, or as he became known later after his passing, St. Francis of Assisi. And I went to Assisi, and I had miracles that took place for me in visiting Assisi on several occasions. And St. Francis was one of these people who created a prayer that is perhaps the most well-known prayer on the planet today, certainly one of them. And when I wrote A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, I took the first 7 lines of this famous prayer and I made them into a chapter of the book. And I'd like to share those with you here in this program right now, those 7 lines, because they represent an 800-year-old technology, if you will, for bringing a spiritual solution to anything in your life that constitutes a problem. The first line in this famous prayer says, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. How can I become an instrument of thy peace? The ego is the part of us that wants to be at war, that wants to defeat, that wants to collect, that wants to be better than, that wants to always get more. The sacred or the highest part of ourselves is the part of us that just wants to be at peace. How can I become an instrument of peace? Not someone who's looking for peace, but someone who delivers it. There are opportunities every day. I was in a gas station just a few days ago, and in this gas station they had a car wash. And there was a young boy, he was maybe 18 or 19 years old, and he didn't speak English very well, and he couldn't figure out how to work the car wash. And he had put $2 in, and apparently it required $3. And he was in there waiting to pay for his car wash and trying to get an answer to why he couldn't get it to work. And I had just gotten some gasoline, and I walked in, and there was this man behind the counter berating this young boy and humiliating him and talking to him. And because he didn't understand the language, he talked louder to him. You know how people do that? You know, if someone doesn't understand you, you say, what I said is, and they say, I don't understand, and then you say it even louder. Well, that's what he was doing to this young boy. And I saw this is an opportunity right here, in this instant, to be an instrument of peace. And I put my arm around the young man, and I said, come with me. And I walked out to the machine, and I took $1, and I put it into and he walked away, and he was just so happy. One tiny little incident. These kinds of things, I suggest to you that you take this day and look for 5 occasions to be an instrument of peace. And you'll find one when you're on your way home, on the freeway. You'll find somebody who isn't going to let you get in. You find somebody who doesn't want to let you pass. And instead of giving them a hard time or being angry at them, try sending something called peace their way. There's a wonderful line that I have on the dashboard of my car. It says, I can choose peace rather than this. And it's always a reminder that no matter how what I'm experiencing in my life, I want to be an instrument of peace. A 92-year-old, petite, well-poised, and proud lady who's fully dressed each morning by 8 o'clock, 92 years old, with her hair fashionably coiffed and makeup perfectly applied, even though she's legally blind and moved to a nursing home today. Her husband of 70 years recently passed away, making the move necessary. After many hours of waiting patiently in the lobby of this nursing home, she smiled sweetly when she told her room was now ready. As she maneuvered her walker to the elevator, I provided a visual description of her tiny room, including the eyelet sheets that had been hung on the window. I love it, she stated, with the enthusiasm of an 8-year-old, having just been presented with a new puppy. But Mrs. Jones, you haven't even seen the room yet. Just wait. That doesn't have anything to do with it, she said. Happiness is something you decide on ahead of time. Whether I like my room or not doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged. It's how I arrange my mind. When you change the way you look at things, even if you're legally blind, the things you look at change. God bless you, and thank you. We are very near to greatness. One step, and we can be safe. Can't you take the one leap, just one leap? And from A Course in Miracles, I leave you with these beautiful words. There is a way of living in the world that is not here, although it seems to be. You do not change appearance, though you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene. Your eyes are quiet. you walk this path as others walk, nor do you seem to be distinct from them, although you are indeed. Thus can you serve them while you serve yourself. A new way of living, to be in spirit. Thank you for watching. God bless you. I want to close this beautiful presentation on the Tao, Cecilia, with a poem that was written by a woman. Her name is Naomi Long Madgett. She's from Detroit, went to Wayne State University. She was named the Poet Laureate of Detroit, an acclaimed African-American poet. Listen to these words. It sums up all that I've been saying. I wouldn't coax the plant if I were you. Such watchful nurturing may do it harm. Let the soil rest from so much digging, and wait until it's dry before you water it. The leaf's inclined to find its own direction. Give it a chance to seek the sunlight for itself. Much growth is stunted by too careful prodding, too eager tenderness. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. Thank you.